Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode 20 of our discussion on the Quran, called The Quran's Revelation of Error. And for those who do know me, well, you know who I am. For those who don't know me, maybe it's time I reveal the secret. My secret code name, it's Tactical Chocolate. And my companion for this discussion today, I was kidding, by the way. And my companion is the one and the only Usama Darkwing Duck. Welcome, Usama. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you doing? You make me a little bit nervous the way you talk sometimes with a sincere heart, with straight face. I tried this one time with my wife. She actually dialed 911, sought the police and the hospital, the crazy hospital, to come to check me out. She thought maybe I lost my mind, but I said,
My
I'm kidding.
wife's
I'm just doing what Lloyd does to me all the time. She said,
sorry.
maybe Lloyd is a bad influence on you, but here we go. What's going on, brother?
Oh boy, so she's never going to allow me to visit you at home. That's already the
He
score.
said you already are on the blacklist. Your wife, she can come anytime, but you absolutely not.
Oh man, the blackout on the blacklist is kind of fitting, I guess.
I'm
But
telling
but
you.
yeah, my wife says I shouldn't tell jokes because people have no idea what I'm talking about. You know.
No, no, let me be serious for a minute here. One time, I was in a church speaking, and I was just being sarcastic, like you do all the time. And I talked something about Muslims doing that to America, blah blah blah, things like that. And because said, "Usama, you need to stop talking like that. You sound like a Muslim in the middle of the church meeting." I mean, there was like I don't know, 200 people there. I said, "Well, I'm just being sarcastic." She said, "People could understand if you're joking or you're serious." So okay, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it again.
I get that a lot myself. Yes. Yes. Buenas noches, desde the previously darkened peninsula. Yeah. So, welcome, Philip. Philip is in Spain where they're experimenting with renewable energy. And, guys, the benefit of renewable energy is this: they're going to invent a technology that is going to get free and abundant electricity from the sun and from the wind. So, you won't have to pay for electricity. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be free. You're going to get all the electricity you want. And this technology is coming soon. So just wait a little bit. Free energy from the sun, all the energy you want, except when it's dark. And
I was going to ask you, was the cloud affected? How about at night? Can we get energy from the sun at night?
so so yeah, like I mean, look in South Africa, for instance, we have a technology that is now replacing electricity. It's called candles. And I strongly suspect Spain and Portugal are looking to go the same way, you know.
Let me ask you a question. I have lots of wood. Why not burn wood at night and put in front of this thing that will produce the heat of the sun? Is it the light of the sun or is the heat of the sun?
Hmm. The wood is actually burning captured sunlight, captured heat. So the heat is stored in the tree. And when you burn it, it's actually just releasing the sun energy. So it's basically the tree is like a potential sun, and it's a percentage of the sun's power that's
Okay,
been
well, you know
stored
what?
in.
Why not I can buy electricity at night and turn a lots of light bulbs on and make that thing you're inventing to be like facing the sun. And then I can continue to produce electricity at night.
Yeah, I mean, the reason the sun doesn't burn us at night is because it goes into a muddy puddle, and it's like the muddy puddle keeps it cool. So
Or a hot well, because we don't know it's hot or muddy.
it's a muddy pool because the pool keeps the sun cool at night. That's why it's cooler at night because it's underwater. So that's how it works. That's a lot
Did
works in
you know? Did
mysterious
you know?
ways.
Yeah, brother Lloyd, did you know that jinn and Satan actually made out of fire? Okay, angels made out of light, and sin, Satan and jinn made out of fire. And Allah in the end, and then like at the day of resurrection, He will listen carefully. You have to catch this. He will reward the believers among the jinn by water, so they will have water to drink. So I don't know, is that a reward or that's a punishment? If you are made out of fire and Allah will reward you, give you water, what do you think He's going to do to you? Turn you off?
I think Allah's deceiving them. He's tricking them. Have this, and then
Oh, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's amazing. The jinn eat bones. You know that the jinn eat bones, And the animals of the jinn is the poop of the animals. The poop, I mean, any poop, anyway.
Oh,
But then Allah will reward the good jinn, the one who believe in Islam and accept Muhammad. Those who heard the Quran, you go to Quran chapter 72, man, and read and study. So they're going to be they are good Muslim jinn, and Allah will reward them in the garden with water.
that's yeah. I mean, fire and water get along like a house on fire. Oh man.
I don't think my dear Muslim friend even think about what they're reading, man. I mean, this stuff is written for the smart one, but they're all dumb. They just read it and could not figure out anything wrong with it. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, what can we say? Steamy camel pie. Thanks. Okay, yeah. So these brain-stabbing images that I have to deal with. And another UK is dusting the air to minimize the sun. I mean, did we all ask them to do this on our behalf? Do you know there's this Bovaer chemical that Bill Gates is like funding to feed to cows so that they stop farting because cow farts release methane that is killing the planet.
That's a problem. Yeah.
And now it's being discovered that these cows are refusing to eat the feed with this chemical in it because they can smell it. So now the cows are dying because they're starving, and the cows are also getting sick. The chemical's making them sick. So now this is really, so now they're going to spray chemicals in the air.
You come by my place here anytime. I got all the cows eating good grass, and they fart all night long, all day long. There's no problem with my cows here. They're healthy and strong, and mashallah, mashallah.
Okay, that's pretty good. So, yep. So I saw that. Yeah, the Bovaer. So, by the way, guys, tomorrow, Usama Darkwing Duck. That's he and I are going to be having a talk about a man called John Calvin, and I'm going to be talking about Islamo-Christianity, because this is effectively the accusation that was levied against John Calvin in the 16th century. So he was accused of formulating an Islamicized version of Christianity by critics back then already. It was called Islamo-Turkism because, of course, the Ottoman Empire, the Muslim Empire. So it was called Islamo-Turkism, and we're going to have a look at a few questions. One is just a brief touch on the fact of Islamo-Turkism. I'll discuss that at length later in another talk. Two, what is the role of Satan in Calvinism? If Satan is so much weaker than God, but God is the one who causes you to sin, God leads you astray, just like Allah chooses who gets led astray, then Satan himself is a victim of God. So understand, this reduces the role of Satan to nothing, because God effectively is Satan in Calvinism. This is the theological and philosophical trap. And then, of course, we have to look at the stark similarities between predestination in Islam and
Calvinism, yeah,
and so on, yeah, and Calvinism, and this and other issues. So we'll discuss that tomorrow, and I think that's worth talking about. These are the issues that I've come across, and I've sent this document to someone. I've got it, and I'll make it available to the rest of you later as well. I think that's fine. I can share that. So yeah, the globalists are completely insane, and yeah. So that is that. But today we're going to be talking about the final wrap-up of the story of Lot. Then we finish with Abraham and Lot. I choose the cow. Yes, I trust the cow too. I definitely choose the cow. I am pro-cow. Who of you are pro-cow? Drop a 1 in the chat if you are pro-cow. Right. So Usama, today we're talking... before we go on, let me mention one thing. Something that, again, is constantly bothering me. I released a discussion on my channel on many Protestants I've come across deny that Martin Luther wrote a book calling for direct violence against Jews, to burn their books, to throw them into labor camps, to beat them, to steal their property, steal their money, and to attack them, to do violence against them if they preach, and to throw them out of the countries that they are settled in, because he said that they are satanic, they are evil, and he spread a lot of direct hatred against Jews. Now, oddly enough, this hatred is very, very similar to what Muhammad was saying and what Muhammad was doing to the Jews, expelling them from places, destroying their things, taking their things, stealing, robbing, and so on. Now, you see these crazy parallels. Protestants will deny that Martin Luther wrote the book on the Jews and their lies. But I've come across too many Christians, very questionable Christians, who feel it's okay to hate Jews, who feel it's okay to, what's wrong with having them killed? They're evil, they should die. These same Christians feel it's a problem, because Jews are blasphemers or Jews don't believe in Jesus. But these same Christians feel that it's wrong for Muslims to kill them because Christians don't believe in Muhammad. Christians are blaspheme Muhammad. That's not okay to kill Christians, but it's okay to murder the Jews. And it's odd when you align with Allah, Muhammad, and Hamas in hating and wanting to see violence against a particular group, but yet you're a hypocrite when they want to do the same thing to you because you don't believe in their deity. This is really disturbing. Your thoughts on that, Usama? I don't know. Hopefully I explained it well, but what are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. I think the Bible is very clear. We must love our enemies. I don't care what the enemy do or how the enemy believe or what the enemy think. And do to others as you want others do to you. So if you think it's okay to kill a Jew, but it's not okay for Muslims to kill a Christian, that means you're just being a hypocrite. You're a man with two-minded. You cannot have it both ways. So obviously you are on the right track. I believe we are not called to kill anybody. And the evidence is in the life of the disciples after Jesus, who received from the Lord our doctrine, our belief, our ideology, and our practices. I know that somebody may look at what Peter did, cut the ears of the servant of the high priest, but that's not what Jesus said to do. And the evidence that Jesus healed that ear at that moment.
And Jesus actually spoke out against them for doing so.
Put your sword into, but here's a fact, Brother Lloyd, because there's a little bit what do you call narrow line here. If the Bible, Jesus said that if you don't have a sword, sell your cloth and go buy a sword. That is for self-defense. You have the right to defend yourself. If you can defend yourself, if not, well, it's too bad. None of the disciples who were killed defended themselves. They were killed because it was their time to go to be martyred for Jesus. So, but I'm not a person saying I do not carry a gun. I carry guns. I have many guns. So there's nothing wrong to have a weapon to protect your family, to protect your church, to protect your people. But in the same time, at the time of persecution, we will be killed for Jesus. So this is it.
And I did a very lengthy series on Martin Luther. I've done probably over 30 hours with Martin Luther, featuring Martin Luther's own works and statements and writings, which are actually horrific once you actually read Martin Luther, and not what other people say he said, but read Martin himself. But Christians deny that. I've come across many of them deny that he wrote these works, that he said these things, when they are literally in his own handwriting, in his own books. However,
I myself, let me confess, I'm shocked about the things you share with me, and I cannot wait to do some digging and some studying, because all what I study on Martin Luther is a Reformation beginning, which he did to bring the church to where we are today as a Protestant. But nothing about the man.
With the assistance of my audience, I was able to buy the entirety of Martin Luther's works, and I've spent several years reading through this man's own writings, and it is horrific. It is, honestly, from someone who knew nothing about Martin Luther except for the standard narrative, but knew very little, then learning the standard narrative, and then actually taking the time to go read Martin Luther's works. As a Protestant, I came away with the distinct impression that Martin Luther was a psychopath. The man was vindictive, malicious, and a complete and utter theological fraud. And I state that bluntly. That's the impression I walked away with after having read this. This man is clinically insane. But moving on, they state that, for instance, his hatred of the Jews was, it's a fraud that was enacted by the Catholic Church and so on. It was the man's own beliefs and statements. But then they say that the Nazis twisted his works. No, the Nazis actually implemented Martin Luther's plan for the Jews faithfully. They didn't twist Martin Luther's words. His words were twisted. The Nazis implemented Martin Luther's plan faithfully, step by step, and then they just went a little further. So when you read Martin Luther and you're like, how can this be a holy Christian, godly man who designed a program to genocide a people? It's insanity. Just how can a good man, or how can you say, well, despite his massive genocidal satanic evil of wanting to slaughter an entire group, other than that, the man's a perfect model Christian. Right? I'm sorry, but no, I'm not buying that anymore. So
Well, we'll see. I will. I'm looking forward to do some digging myself, Lord's willing.
all right, yeah. So anyway, back on topic. I mean, I'll be happy to invite you on to have a discussion and show you the research, because my research there is extremely in depth, taken from his own works and from the most, shall we say, the most reliable of his biographers and historians. And it's a lot of material that is relatively new as well, based on accessibility to the archives that was not possible before. So, yeah, Jesus said, love your enemy. Yeah. So, okay. So here we are, Usama. We are talking
Summary
about
concerning lot. And once again, we encourage people to go to the book of Genesis, beginning from chapter 12, and read all that which is written in the Bible. So here I'm giving like paraphrasing sometime in my book. I paraphrase the Bible, or I just quote early some verses and I jump from one point to another point. So if you want to hear the entirety of the true biblical account of Lot, please go to Genesis account and read, especially our dear Muslim friends who have never read the Bible before because of their belief that the Bible is corrupted, the Bible is no longer the word of God, or it's no longer perfect. So maybe you sin against Allah and sin against your so-called Muslim scholars, and give God a chance and read the Genesis account. And I promise you, if you start reading the Genesis account, you're gonna be mocking Allah and his Quran, the miracle of Muhammad, the only miracle of Islam. All right, so go ahead, brother.
Yeah. By the way, it's spring here in Poland, and it is freezing, and I am dying, I tell you. Yeah, no. And so I put this on. I was dying here. Windows are shut. I wish we could stream from my toilet or my bathroom because,
See, I cannot do that because the devil is there and Allah is not there, and angels cannot go
well,
there.
you need to read Martin Luther's works on
Oh,
how
my
devil lives
world.
in the toilet. Seriously,
Okay.
Usama, you have to read what this man has. It is, you're like, what is wrong with this? Anyway, but let's just say there's a lot of Islamic ideas there that would surprise you. But moving
Oh,
on. No, the reason is I have a very small toilet, and I heated the floors because there's no heating there. And the bathroom is a very tiny bathroom, and I heated the floors because it's such a small surface area, and there's very little heating there. So I had to, otherwise you'd freeze in winter. So the heating is on right now, and it's so warm in there, and I wish I could sit there. Okay, moving on. Okay, so when we read the account of Genesis, as we stated before, Lot's story is intertwined with the story of Abraham. Begins Genesis 12. Verse 1, God called Abraham to leave his homeland to go to the promised land. And in verse 4, Abraham departed at 75. So that took faith for sure. And he traveled with him.
And by the way, as we read the summary here, even in my summary, the details are more blowing to the mind, is more shocking than the entire Quran. Nothing. I mean, I challenge you. Give me what you just read right now in the Quran. I mean, how old was Abraham? We know nothing about when he left the land of Babel. We do not know where he come from in the Quran. We do not know where he went to. All what we know is that Muslim, assuming he went to Saudi Arabia to build the Kaaba. But
Muslims actually are able to answer that question.
Yeah.
They will. No, if you ask them, what do you think of this? They'll say, look, they have a definitive answer. They'll tell you that you're an Islamophobe.
Oh, that makes sense now. I got you. All right. Yeah. So anyway, 75 years old when he left home. Okay, go ahead, bro.
So Lot traveled with him. They took all the possessions with them, and they came to Canaan.
By the way, the reason Lot traveled with Abraham is not because he's another prophet or another messenger or whatever, another propaganda. It's because he is his nephew, who's just happened that his daddy died. Okay, so he's living with his uncle Abraham, and the nephew Lot. Something you will never find in the Quran or in the saying of Muhammad or any of the writings of so-called scholars of Islam. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Abraham goes south because there was great famine, as is written in verse 10. That's why Abram, Sarai, and Lot then have to travel another, I think, 350 miles to the Sinai in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And Abraham told Sarah, okay, looks like Usama has dropped off unexpectedly. We'll wait for him to come back. I'll continue.
What happened? I lost you for a second.
I thought you were able to turn invisible. I thought it's your superpowers that just showed up there for a second.
Well, man, that's a miracle. That's even greater miracle than Muhammad and his Quran. Go ahead.
So this is where Abraham told Sarai to say that she was his sister. He was afraid they might kill him to take her for a wife in verse 13. So Abraham lies and he says that Sarai was his sister. Now this was, of course, to the Pharaoh. So Abraham received livestock, slaves, and possessions when they were asked to leave Egypt because he was
By the
wrong.
way, just a quick note here is that in Islam, according to scholars' writings, they will tell Abraham did three lies. That is, when he said that the one who did the damaging to the idols was the biggest one, which he kept alive. He damaged all the other idols, which is, by the way, confusion between Gideon and Abraham. And the second one, when he said, I was sick, and they left him so he can't destroy these idols. And the third one, when he lied and said Sarai, actually did not know Sarai, they say Sarah, that his wife was his sister. But when you read even that, I said, where do you come up with this? Show me where in the Quran that Abraham said my wife is my sister. It's not there. So they're quoting the Bible, they're using the Bible to make sense out of Abraham's story in the Quran, when in reality, nothing is written there. Go ahead, brother.
Right. Genesis 13, 1 to 13, we read that Abraham left Egypt with his wife and his possessions along with Lot, and they arrived at Bethel. Lot was rich with many possessions. The land could not support them. They had an abundance of livestock, slaves, and possessions. Strife and conflict took place between the herdsmen of Abraham and those of Lot. Abraham asked Lot to separate himself and his possessions from those of Abraham, so there would be no contention. Lot lifted up his eyes and saw Sodom and Gomorrah, noticing that it was a good land. Therefore he chose for himself the plain of Jordan and traveled towards the east, and he pitched his tents in Sodom. The people of Sodom, however, were sinners and wicked. So we cannot discover from the account of the Bible any indication that Lot was ever sent to Sodom as a prophet, as Muhammad has claimed in the Quran.
Sure.
Genesis 14, an important event happens in Lot's life, which Muhammad disregards completely. So it's one of the early wars in the history of men. 4 kings engaged in war against 5 kings, as written in verses 1 to 2. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemiber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. The war lasts 14 years. The war's over, the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah fled because they had lost. The winning kings took the spoils of Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot, living in Sodom, was taken with all of his possessions as spoils of war. Abraham hears what happened to Lot, as written in verse 14. He takes 318 of his servants and followed them to Dan. There he divided himself against them with his servants at night. He had a great victory over them and brought back Lot and all his goods. But he took no spoils from the king of Sodom. He only took food for the young men and a portion as wages for the men who fought for him. Although Muhammad, you take 20%.
Yeah, sure.
Because piracy and plunder is apparently part of the religion of peace.
Yeah.
Was it the religion of piracy? I'm not sure.
Sure. That's how they have to make their living. But why Muhammad did not mention anything about that war? I mean, you're talking about it affect Abraham and it affect Lot. Lot lost his wife and his children and everything in his possession. And Abraham went, and I mean, it have something to do with Abraham. He went with his 318 men to fight, and they brought all the not just Lot, but everything was taken as a spoil back to the king of Sodom. Why Muhammad never mentioned that very important portion instead of repeat the story of Abraham and the story of Lot 15 times in the Quran? Why did he just drop one of these repeated portion out and give me that very important, vital information?
It's very simple. You see, Muhammad was a humble, simple man, and he had a stutter.
Yep.
So when he was trying to tell the story, he stuttered, and that's why you have the same story repeated 15 times. And he was really trying to get around to that portion. But and don't forget, you're an Islamophobe.
Well, I know that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So that explains why, because you're just, now you know.
Yeah. I concur.
Genesis 18, the Lord stated that the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was great because of their sin. So the two angels of the Lord who appeared like men to Abram left Abram with the Lord and traveled towards Sodom. It doesn't say here that they touched the cow and they made Lot very afraid because they touched the cow. I mean, cow touching would make me nervous too, though, I will admit.
You're killing me, small. Okay.
So after finding out that the Lord was going to destroy Sodom, Abraham negotiates with them. And he says to the Lord that maybe there were 50 righteous in the city. The Lord's response to us to say that if there are 50 righteous, he would not destroy the city. And then the number went down from 45 to 40, then 30, then 20, then 10. And then the conclusion was that there were not even 10 righteous in the city. So the destruction of Sodom occurs. And so the story of the destruction and the new beginning for the daughters of Lot is Genesis 19, 1 to 38. The two angels come to Sodom in the evening. Lot welcomes them and asks them to spend the night at his house. But they refuse by stating they would abide in the streets all night, which is the opposite of the story as fabricated by Muslim scholars, who wanted two pretty young men to keep certain people's beds warm all night or something like that. They should get their minds out of the gutter.
Yeah. Allah want to have an excuse. And the excuse is that he will cause the people of Sodom and Gomorrah to sin with these two angels because they're so hot. They're so sexy. They're like beautiful anyway. And now he found a good reason to punish them. What a stupid idea. I mean, 30, 40, 50 years living in sin is not enough evidence for God to destroy people for their sin. Does he need to send two more beautiful young boys? MashaAllah.
Yeah, the less I think about that, the better I feel.
Okay, then move on. Get to the next two sentences.
So Lot pressed upon them to come and to stay in his house.
Yep.
He made them a feast. Before they lay down, all of the men of the city of Sodom surrounded the house of Lot and asked Lot to bring the two men out so that they may know them, have sex with them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Lot speaks to the men of the city and asks them not to do evil and offered them his two virgin daughters. The men asked Lot to move aside, as he was a stranger in the land. They reject his judgment of them, and they threatened Lot by saying they would deal worse with him than with the two visitors. As the men of the city were about to break down the door, the two men reached out with their hands, took Lot inside the house, and closed the door. And for all the men outside, they were stricken with blindness and could not find the door. So the two men asked Lot to bring his relatives and his household outside of the city, as they explained to Lot that the city would be destroyed. So Lot speaks to his sons-in-law, but they consider him to be joking. So early in the morning, the angels take Lot and his wife and his two daughters out of the city. So the angels asked Lot to take his wife, not as Muhammad stated, that she was left behind. Nor did the angels tell Lot.
Let me put it this way. Muhammad put it both ways. That's a contradiction. In one place she left, another place she was left behind. So anyway, she went with her.
And they predicted, of course, that she would die in the Quran. But so Lot lingers. And the angels did not tell Lot that his wife would die. So because Lot lingered, the angels laid hands upon him, his wife and daughters, and they put them outside the city because the Lord was merciful unto Lot.
I mean, what is the reason? Here's the deal. What is the reason for the angels to show compassion and mercy on Lot and his wife and his daughter by pulling them out of the house almost early in the morning and get them out of the city if they already know she's going to die anyway? What is the purpose? Just leave her there.
Point.
Yeah.
Fair point. And so they asked Lot's family to run for their lives and not to look behind. So Lot asked the angels if he could stay in a nearby city instead of going to the mountains. Because look, I mean, you're looking at the death of what, maybe 400 people here, like the whole
yeah, 50 each city. I got you. Yeah. I remember the numbers.
It's pretty bad. I mean, that's pretty bad. Yeah. So he feared that they may die in the mountains. The angels accept his proposition and save the city. So when the sun rose, Lot enters the city, and the Lord rains brimstone and fire on the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah.
He did not rain. Remember in the Quran, he rained rain. Wow. I couldn't believe it. The rain
rained a rain. Yeah, he rained a rain. You're right.
Listen, or rocks made out of baked clay. And by the way, they have in it, it's written on each rock the name of the person which is going to hit. And maybe who is going to hit him exactly too. Maybe in his face, maybe in his back, maybe in his head, maybe in his butt. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some of those rocks in the museum in in Saudi. I'm pretty sure they found some of those rocks now that has inscriptions on them because they found the city, so maybe they'll find those rocks with the inscriptions. You never know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just a matter of
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
And of course, Allah mentions that He killed them with a shout.
That is the other one. I mean, see, every time Muhammad repeat, not just the story of Lot, any story in the Quran, you pick up a story, if Muhammad repeat it, it will be different. I promise you. I challenge you, show me one story in the Quran is repeated the same way. Show me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there you go. So then, of course, none of this is as Muhammad claims throughout the Quran. The city, the plain, the inhabitants of the city, all the plants were destroyed.
Yeah.
So Angel Gabriel was not involved. He did not use his wing to do
Nope.
any such thing as Muhammad and the Muslim scholars claim.
He actually, in the Quran, in the interpretation of scholar, lifted up the 7 cities, even though there are only 5. But he lifted them up with the edge of his wings. And as he went up, the people and the angels in the heaven, they heard. Can you imagine? They heard. Ah, whoa, 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 whoa. And all the sound, the rooster and the donkey and the dog and the cow and the, I mean, they heard every noise, every voice coming out of these 7 cities. I have no idea how they call these scholars. I call them dumbers. But anyway, by the way, thinking about repeating the story. Do you know my grandma, which is actually not grandma, it's my wife's mother. We call her grandma. Everybody call her grandma. She used to like to watch Gunsmoke. You know Gunsmoke? It's an
Mm-hmm.
old.
Yep, I
Man, I
remember.
watched with her for 8 years. Imagine 8 years. Some of the movies we watch, some of the show, it's the same one, and I saw it for like the 7th time. She died 96. Okay, so if you can imagine, with old age, you just get to the habit of watching stuff. Every time I saw the repeated shows of Gunsmoke, every time, it never changed. It's the same. It is the same. The actor died the right way in the right spot. If there's a robbers, I mean, if you watch Gunsmoke and you watch the same episode 10 times, this 10 times, every time will be the same story. Nothing's gonna change. So Gunsmoke, movie maker, who was just an infidel, was much smarter than gibberish and Allah and Muhammad. Every
Mm-hmm.
time Muhammad repeats the story, he forget. But the scholars, no, the scholars, the movie makers and it's the same. It never changed. Anyway, so I was joking with Sister Christy the other day. I said about the same story. I said maybe this time the story will end different, but it's always end the same way. But go ahead, not like
Right.
Allah's way. Yeah,
So Lot's wife looked behind and becomes a pillar of salt, story we know. But no rock fell on her. No black rock crushed her head, as Muhammad tells us. And then Lot leaves the city with his daughters to live in the mountains because he was afraid of living in the city. He dwells in a cave with his daughters, and the older daughter speaks to the younger one, saying their father was getting old and there were no men in the earth to be with them in order to have children. They give their father a drink of wine, and during the first night, the older daughter lay with her father. He didn't know what happened. They gave their father a drink of wine once again. The younger daughter lay with her father, and again he did not know what happened. They both became pregnant from their father. The older daughter had a son called Moab, father of the Moabites. The younger daughter had a son. She named him Ben-Ami, and he was the father of the children of Ammon.
now Muslim would deny that portion of the story. Why? Because Prophet Lot could not have incest with his daughters, not realizing there was no law yet. The Mosaic law was not given yet. As a matter of fact, Abraham, that is the Prophet Abraham, Lot's uncle, was married to his own sister. Same father, different mother. So I do not see anything wrong with that. Why did they make him drunk? Well, they made him drunk because they don't want their father to know that he is the father of his grandchildren, or whatever reason. I don't know why they make him drunk, but I could not see anything wrong of doing. As I believe they thought that the whole world is destroyed, and that's the only, according to their own words, there is no men to sleep with to have children. So obviously that's why they did what they did. After that, a very important fact: we know about the Ammonites. And we know about the Moabites. Now, can Muslims tell me anything about Ammonite and Moabites? They don't know jack about these two nations, which came out of that sexual relationship which Lot has with his two daughters. So I don't know why even Muslims argue about these facts and we're sharing here in our broadcast today to say that's not true. When in reality, that is the only answer for who are the Moabites and who are the Moabites and the what's the other one named? Oh, man, the
Ammonites.
Ammonites. Yeah, Ammonites and Moabites.
Yeah, Ammon. So the Ammonites. Sorry.
The children of Ammon. Yeah. Now that is concerning Lot. So obviously we cover Lot in less than 15, 20 minutes from the Bible. And once again, I encourage you, my dear Muslim friends, read the Bible. I know you are convinced 100% it's a false book because you believe a lie of a child molester, a sex offender, a prophet pretender, a womanizer, an adulterer, a thief, a thug, a terrorist, a pedophile. For heaven's sake, can't you imagine who are you listening to? Anyway, let's move on to Abraham and the resurrection. I will go back to the Quran now here. Yes, sir.
So Abraham is concerned about the resurrection. Quran 2:260 says, when Abraham said, "My Lord, show me how you give life to the dead," he says, "Have you not believed?" He said, "Yes, but so that my heart be assured." And he says, "So take 4 of the birds and cut them and mix them. Then place a part of them on every mountain and call them, and they will come swiftly to you. And know that Allah is dear, wise."
All right.
This happened?
Before we get to this, let me share something quickly, Brother Lloyd, if you don't mind. How did Abraham talk to Allah in that passage? And by the way, in all over the story of the Quran, Abraham was speaking to Allah like I'm talking to Lloyd right now. I mean, he said, when Abraham said, "My Lord, show me," and Allah answered, and he answered, and he asked, back and forth. Allah, throughout the Quran, told us that Allah revealed to Muhammad as he revealed to Abraham. Can you tell me once where in the Quran Allah spoke to Muhammad as we're reading here in Quran chapter 2, verse 260? Just use logic, my dear Muslim friends. Use common sense. We don't hate you, we love you. Where in the Quran do we see Allah speak to Muhammad as Allah spoke to Abraham, as Allah spoke to Moses, as Allah spoke to Isa, as Allah spoke to whatever name you want to pick up from your Quran? Muhammad is the only guy who said that Allah spoke to him and revealed to him as he revealed to others, and we never see anything about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
True. I mean, again, the claims of the same, we worship the same God, it's the same Abrahamic religion, but Christianity and even Judaism are public revelation, whereas Islam is private revelation, just like Mormonism. It's the religion of trust me, bro, because Allah said to me privately something. And
That's
this is not.
Yesterday, I was watching a video of a Muslim guy. Somebody sent to me, and I was watching, and he's mocking the Bible because he said we have no evidence that the Bible is the Word of God because we're missing the chain links. I was like, excuse me, who gave you Muhammad the Quran? What chain links do you have for the Quran? It's just Muhammad and you. Give me a name. Do you have any evidence that Muhammad received a sentence or a verse or a word from gibberish? Okay, do you have any evidence? What if that child molester, what if that pedophile was a liar? I mean, wait a minute. A pedophile cannot lie, man, because he must be some holy guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, for very, well, yeah, I see the problem.
Yeah, did this really happen? Yeah, go ahead.
So did this really happen? Was Abraham concerned about proof of the resurrection? If these verses came before verse 258, it would be more acceptable regarding the order of the verses. For verse 258 states, "Have you not seen him who disputed with Abraham about his Lord, that Allah had given him the kingdom? When Abraham said, 'My Lord is he who gives life and causes death,' he said, 'I give life and cause death.' Abraham said, 'So surely Allah brings the sun from the east, so bring it from the west.' So the infidel was confounded. I am very confounded right now myself. And Allah will not guide the unjust people."
Yeah.
Abraham was speaking to the king, and he knew for sure that Allah, his Lord, gives life and causes death. However, 2 verses later, he's questioning Allah. Amazingly, Muslim scholars go in circles trying to say that he was not doubting Allah, but saying that Abraham surely knew Allah's ability to raise the dead, but he wanted to see for himself so he'd know for sure. So he was totally sure, except he wanted to be sure.
Yeah. It's just nonsense, Lloyd. I love it how Muslims always put excuse about. I mean, for Allah to ask the question, "Did you believe?" Did you believe this? Go back to the verse, brother. Go back to the verse. Okay. What did Allah say here? What's the question Allah asked?
Have you not seen him who disputed with Abraham about his Lord, that Allah had given him the kingdom? And
Keep
then
going.
Abraham says, the Lord is he, my Lord is he who gives life and causes death. He
No,
said,
no, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the verse in up. Go up before
oh,
that.
up again, oh, here. Okay,
That's
here we
all.
go.
Allah said what? Allah is asking.
Have you
Have
not
you
believed?
not believed? Why Allah is asking that question
Oh.
if Allah knows everything? Did Allah know he believed or not?
No, he believed. So Allah is asking him, hello, don't you
But if
believe me?
Allah is all knowing, he should say, I know you believe and you want to know for yourself. No, that's not what Allah said.
Yeah,
Allah is
that
asking a
strongly
question that
implies
Allah does not know
doubt.
what he's talking about either.
Right
You see the
here.
problem? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, also, I mean, Abraham wants his heart to be assured, which means he doubts.
No, he just want to see by his eyes how this happened. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, the Quran mentions no specific type of birds which Abraham sacrificed. And of course, Muslim scholars disagree on what the birds were. They know for sure the miracle happened when Abraham called these birds by the permission of Allah. And after he ripped their flesh to pieces, he tore off their feathers and mixed them together. Behold, every piece of flesh and every feather came back together as they flew back to him. Okay. So where did Muhammad come up with this story? Were there really 4 different kinds of birds? That sounds like weird magic, but fine.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's time for Muslims to know the source of another story found in the Quran. That is Genesis 15, 7 to 11. This was not a question from Abraham to God concerning resurrection, but a sacrifice of the first covenant between God and Abraham concerning the promised land. Abraham asked the question, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit the land? Notice there's no 4 birds here. So the following passage is from Genesis 15. Then he said to them, I am the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, how shall I know that I will inherit it? So he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove and a young pigeon, and a partridge in a pear tree. Then he brought all these to him and cut them in 2 down the middle and placed each piece opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds in 2. And when the vultures came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away. In Matthew Henry's commentary on this passage, he states, assurance was given to Abram of the land of Canaan for an inheritance. God never promises more than he's able to perform, as men often do. Abraham did as God commanded. He divided the beasts in the midst, according to the ceremony used in confirming covenants, described in Jeremiah 34. Having prepared according to God's appointment, he set himself to wait for the sign God might give him. A watch must be kept upon our spiritual sacrifices. When vain thoughts like these fowls come down upon our sacrifices, we must drive them away and seek to attend on God without distraction.
Amen.
So the Bible explains the details of Abram's life, even the change of his name from Abram to Abraham, and the change of his wife's name from Sarai to Sarah. The rest of Abraham's story is written for us to read and to know exactly what happened in Genesis.
Let's stop it for a second, Brother Lloyd, if you don't mind. When you read the Quran, you never read the name Sarai. You never read the name Abraham, which makes the writings of the Quran false. Why? All the stories, the repeated stories of Abraham, and by the way, he never mentioned Sarai or Sarah, period. He mentioned his woman, okay? His woman. He couldn't even say the word wife. He talked like old country people who do not have respect for females, but that's okay. So now, when he say Abraham told his father, and Abraham told his people, and Abraham said that is wrong, because at all these stories, these portions of the life of Abraham, his name was not Abraham. His name was Abram. When do we start to read about Abraham? That is after the birth of Isaac, because that is when God changed his name from the father of one to the father of many. Because obviously Muslims do not know the difference between Abraham and Abraham. So just to read the Quran, and you don't read the right name for Abraham instead of Abraham as we read in the Quran. For what happened before Abraham changed to Abraham, that make a historical huge error. in the writing of the Quran. Are you following me?
I mean, you'd think they would conform with the historical records if they're the truth, if they're fact, if Allah knows everything.
There's
You'd
nothing
think He
there,
knows.
brother. Not just an Abraham story. In the entire Quran, you have zero evidence of anything you say. Talking about location, time, place, where, when, why, who. That doesn't exist. But why you talk about Abraham in the Quran and you tell me his name is Abraham? When in reality, you know, this portion of his life, his name was not Abraham, but his name was Abraham. That's a huge historical error.
Yeah. You know what? Hold on. Someone just asked me something here. Yeah,
Sure.
Allah is very confused. He changes his mind constantly. And then there's a question here about the correlation between the Quran and the myths and legends that were popular at the time. I've actually was busy on this. I've done this already on the channel, but I've got another one.
Sure.
Not this one, but there are a lot of stories that are. I mentioned some of them here, the original sources of the Quran. So you can have a look at this book written in the 1800s
Yeah.
by Reverend W. St. Clair Tisdall, the original sources of the Quran. There's two versions of the book, and this is the second version, I believe, the updated version. The original is the sources of Islam, but he actually is this one. This is earlier book. Skip this one. Yeah, sources of the Quran. This is the better one to read. Right? This was the original version. Skip this one. And he goes through at length in these books. He goes through at length several of the stories in the Quran. He goes through like dozens of them. And what the original story is, he traces them to Zoroastrian sources and Persian stuff, and then old myths and legends. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of myths and legends and Gnostic
I
stories.
believe, Lloyd, I believe personally, nothing is written in the Quran came from Muhammad's head or from his gibberish. It's all made up, counterfeit to other stories. If it's not in the Bible, it is some other book. End of story. Nothing. He have zero writings in the Quran from his own head. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So, okay. So the Bible explains the details of Abraham's life, even the change of his name, the change of his wife's name. The rest of his story is written for us to read and know exactly what happened in the account of Genesis. Therefore, no room for speculation, suggestion, or conjecture, or any other interpretation. Everything is written as it took place nearly 4,000 years ago in Genesis. We know where, when, how, why, who, and what took place in Abram's life. If you spend a few hours reading the account of Genesis, you find a great difference between the very corrupt story of the Quran, and the account of Genesis concerning the life and death of Abram. I mean, yeah, there's so much missing, so much detail. I mean, Allah doesn't even know the names He used in the book that came before the Quran. So, was Abraham a Muslim? Of course, everybody was. I mean, David was, Abraham was.
Because David was a Muslim. I'm sorry, Adam was a Muslim. Therefore, his descendants, which came from his backbone, they're all Muslims. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Jesus was a Muslim. Mary was a Muslim. All of these people were Muslims, and isn't that?
We need to revert to Islam, man. We need to revert to Islam.
Yep. So was Abraham Muslim? When we read the verses in Quran 2:130, which state, "And who forsakes the religion of Abraham except him who fools himself? And we indeed choose him in this world, and in the hereafter he's among the good." When his Lord said to him, "Be Muslim," he said, "I became a Muslim to the Lord of the worlds." And Abraham advised by it his sons and Jacob, "O my son, surely Allah has chosen the religion for you. So do not die except you are Muslims."
Why Allah said here, and Jacob? Abraham advised by it is to die as a Muslim. His sons, we do not know who are his sons, obviously. I challenge Muslim to give me the names of the sons of Abraham, because all they know is Ishmael and Isaac. But besides that, they have no idea.
Are you saying the Quran doesn't mention that important detail?
No. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. All the details are there. But now, and Jacob. Why and Jacob? Why not an Esau? I mean, Jacob have an older brother, Esau, which Muhammad nor scholars of Islam know jack about.
Because Esau comes later, and they change his name to Isa.
Oh,
Maybe, you know.
he's the son of Mary now is the brother of Jacob. MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And,
that's
and
my
Imran is
theory.
his uncle. I thought he is the son of Imran and Moses is his uncle, but you confuse me, man. I do not know what to believe now anymore. I'm almost about to say there is no Allah and Muhammad is not his prophet. Go ahead.
Yeah, Muhammad is his puppet, or was Allah Muhammad's puppet? It's very hard to know. I think Allah is
Me,
Muhammad's puppet is the correct way to say that.
I concur. I concur.
So, Quran 21, 2, 133. Or were you witnesses when death came to Jacob, when he said to his sons, what will you serve after me? They said, we will serve your God and the God of your fathers, Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac.
Wait a minute. Is Ishmael one of the fathers? Are you reading? Is Ishmael is the father of Jacob? Listen to the verse again. Were you witness when death came to Jacob? Who is dying? Jacob. He's talking to his sons. Obviously, Muhammad does not know the sons, but I can give you the 12 names. No big deal. What will you? That's a question Jacob is asking. What will you serve after me? They said, we will serve your God and the God of your fathers, Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac. What Ishmael have to do with Jacob? He is his father? One of the early ancestors?
Yeah, he's, it's what they mean is it's fatherly, you see. He's a fatherly figure. So you need to see him as fatherly because that's a
You
sign
know,
of respect
you remind me,
in ancient Arabic communities.
you remind me of Brother Muhib in my Arabic show, which we do on Friday nights. He always like to make a defense for Ibn Kathir. And you're doing the same thing here. I'm tired of both of you making no sense to me. Go ahead, keep reading. Keep reading, man.
Okay, I'll restrict my work to reading then.
That's okay.
I
Yeah.
hope
No,
Allah
no,
doesn't strike
you
me
can
down
always,
with
brother,
blindness.
brother, if you want to
One
come
God,
up
and
with
to
your
him,
thought, just listen. If you want to come with your thought, you're quite welcome. But please smile when you say it because you make me believe that you really mean it.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, dude for Christ says, you must know you need to get it wrong to make it make sense to Muslims. And that's probably true.
Sure.
So, one God, and to him we are Muslims. So, this nation indeed passed away. To them, what they earned, and to you, what you earned. And do not ask about what they were doing. And they said,
What is the question there? Don't ask about what they were doing. What is the point from that verse? For that portion of the verse?
because your brain is small and the information,
It's too
your
much.
brain cannot deal with you can't handle the truth.
Makes sense. Okay, 135. Yeah.
Right. And they said, become Jews or Christians, you will be guided. And say, yet the religion of Abraham is Hanifa, and he was not of the polytheists.
You know what Hanifan means? Click on
These are
one of
not
three. No,
sorry.
click on 103. Click on 103. Please. Here's what Hanifan says.
A word
103.
without meaning.
Thank you so much. Let's go back to the context. That's what I wanted
Yeah,
us to do.
I actually covered this in my monotheism series, and I go through the history of the word and how it's used in various contexts. And it seems to go back, at least in one context, to upright pillars, the stone idols that God says that Abraham must avoid.
We're talking about brother Lloyd. Maybe this have a meaning somewhere else in some other language, but in my Arabic language, there is
Yeah,
no meaning to the word Hanif.
yeah, no. It comes from, but actually, you can trace it back to the Aramaic and to the Hebrew, and it's
Okay.
from Hanpa, which is pagan, the
Oh.
pagans, worshippers of stone idols. It's so yeah, the Muslims are yeah. Say we believed in Allah and what has been sent down to us, and what has been sent down to Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the Asbat.
Okay.
What is this?
What was sent on them? The 12 sons of Jacob.
The tribes, the non-Arabic word of
Hebrews.
because the Quran is sent down in pure Arabic.
Pure Arabic, please. Pure. You have to word the word pure there. So now, when you talk about what has been sent down on Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the 12 sons of Jacob, nothing.
He sent them each a book. No, true story.
Yeah, story, but not reality. It's a true story, but no facts in it. Anyway, okay,
Oh,
okay.
hang on, hang on. You know what? Since we are here,
Yeah.
so let me go here again. Let me just find something. Here we go. So let me bring this up. This is, let me close this window. So this is Arabia, the Cradle of Islam by Reverend Zwemmer. So this goes
Mhm.
way back. This is, I mean, I don't know what year this is. You can see the stamp says 1935, but this is from the early
Yeah.
1900s, so it's over a century now, I believe.
Mhm.
And this is analysis of Islam as a system developed from its creed. Now you'll notice Muhammad has 201 names and titles. Okay. Allah has 99 names, but Muhammad has, at this point, this is in the early 1900s, Muhammad has 201 names. Allah has 99. So Muhammad has a few more names than Allah. But notice here, Muslims believe that 104 books were sent from heaven in the following order. Adam got 10 books. But see, Adam as a Muslim was a bad librarian and he lost his 10 books. Seth
Oh
got
my.
50 books. Enoch got 30 books. Abraham got 10 books. All of these are utterly lost. Sadly, we kind of lost them, but they existed. True story. Moses got the Torah, David the Zabur, and Jesus the Injil. And these are highly spoken of in the Quran, but are now all sadly corrupted and have
Oh
been
my word.
abrogated by the Quran. So it's very unfortunate they've got no copies of the Injil, nothing, not a fragment of a page, not a small tiny section. It's not even mentioned by any scholars, historians, theologians, polemicists. Not a single person in the history of the planet has said a word about the Injil that Muslims can point us to. Very unfortunate. Just really sad.
And it's amazing when we go to the Quran. One day, Brother Lloyd, really, I want to do a show with you. Has the Bible been corrupted? Has the Bible been corrupted? We use the Quran to prove to the Muslims that they need to learn their Quran. And if they know their Quran, they could not come up with that stupid, dumb statement. Just the Quran. We're going to use the Quran to prove that the Bible is the perfect word of Allah and it will never change.
Yep. So yeah, but sadly, literally all of these 104 books are all gone. Not a single. Isn't just an unfortunate
And
coincidence.
why Seth have 50 books, man? What's up with Seth to have 50 books?
Seth had 50 books, yeah,
I
because
know,
Seth.
but I mean, what
But the
happened?
problem is we don't know. These are utterly lost. So how can we know? Maybe he had a book of like fantastic Canaanite recipes by Enoch. I mean, you never know. It could have been Seth's book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We lost countless knowledge. This is unfortunate. And it could have been like maize planting for first time farmers. You just don't know, Osama. Could have been. It could have been. It could have been
It's
the
amazing.
secrets.
What's amazing, some skeptics, they will tell me that Moses did not write the Torah, the first five books of the Bible. And you ask why? Because there were no writing in Moses' days, which is stupid. Why? Because I know there's lots of writings before Moses on rocks still exist in Egypt. Okay, and Moses learned in the best school by he was the grandson of Pharaoh, for heaven's sake. I mean, can you imagine that? Grandson of Pharaoh was uneducated, does not know how to read and write, while his people, the Egyptian at the time, who lived in Egypt, have writings on rocks, still speak today volumes. But anyway, but
Yep.
you tell me that Moses could not write, but somehow Adam and Seth, his son, wrote
Had
books.
books. No. They had no. True story. True story. Allah
Yeah,
wouldn't lie to you,
I know.
right? So as we get told, it could have been biryani and naan recipes, and now who knows? It could have been how to make ice cream. So there could have been ancient technology for ice cream making long before the Chinese
And we
got there.
missed it all these years.
Yeah.
It's not even
So
funny.
Islamic knowledge unfortunately was lost, and now we've got. But Muhammad managed to rescue some of it, like he rescued the knowledge of drinking camel urine.
Okay, I know that. I can
You know,
confirm
he
that.
managed to bring that one back.
553, I believe. That's a perfect sign.
He
Yeah.
brought that one back. So I mean, you've got
Inshallah.
it's a
Yeah.
step forward. You know what I'm saying? It's a step forward. It's
How about the fly wings? It's in the hadith. It's not in the Quran, but
Yeah.
he's
No, I mean, look, I've got a collection of fly wings here, and I just dip them in my tea. I've got a whole bag full. You can buy them in the fly wing store. Just it's what you do. You just drop a few in your tea. It's great. You got them as well, right? I mean, am I not
Oh
the
yeah,
only?
yeah. Actually, I have a video to show it to you, but we don't have time for it today. We'll do it next time.
Okay, great stuff. I mean, so I can maybe my recipe was originally in Seth's one of these 50 books.
Who knows? Only Allah knows. As Muslims always say, if I know, I would have told you, but I don't know, brother. I can't help you.
Yep. So there you go. So let's move on from this nonsense. But yeah, true stories.
This is other nonsense. You
Like
move
seriously.
from a hole to a deeper hole. Go ahead, make my day. Go ahead.
So these verses teach, as many, in fact, as you will find in the Sunnah and other things, that Abraham was a Muslim and every baby is born Muslim, but the parents convert them out of Islam and corrupt them. So yeah, so children grow up to be believers in other religions because children are indoctrinated.
Sure. If you leave your kids alone, believe me, they will say Allahu Akbar, and they do the Muslim prayer and they memorize the Quran. They memorize it by themselves.
And technically also, everyone's soul is actually a small fragment of Muhammad's light.
Sure. Yep. Yeah,
so your soul is Muslim. Never mind,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's. I know when you think about it, these positions are so weak and dumb and indefensible. But no one would believe this. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they'll kill you if you leave. I mean, and that would explain a little bit of why people are afraid to leave. But yeah, so they are Muslims.
I like Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi. He died now. He used to be the head of the Muslim Brotherhood for his, all the funding and Sharia finance.
Mhm.
He said, if it was not for the war of apostasy, Islam would have died at its birth.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, agreed. So, there are Muslims who claim that the real meaning of the writings of the Quran concerning Abraham and other prophets is that they submitted or surrendered to Allah. Well, I mean, they obviously claim, Jesus was a Muslim because he submitted to his God, but then so do Buddhists. Does that make Buddhists Muslims? Yes, it does, actually, according to that stupid definition. But we all know what they really mean. They mean he was a Muslim, as in he followed Allah and he prayed with his ass up in the air and all of that nonsense. So,
and the evidence, when Muhammad went to Jerusalem, he prayed with all these prophets, the Muslim prayers. And Muhammad said in the hadith that Adam saw La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, there is no God except Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, written in light in the sky. And Allah told him, because of Muhammad, I created you. When he asked Allah, who is that Muhammad? Allah, I know there is no God except you. Who is that Muhammad? He said, because of Muhammad, I created you. So obviously, there's enough evidence outside of this nonsense statement reading to prove that really, all these prophets were Muslims, believe in Muhammad.
Yep. So true story. Yeah. Adam believed in Muhammad and became a Muslim because Adam read in the sky a big sign written in light saying there's no God but Allah and Muhammad. And Adam was like, I don't know who this Muhammad dude is. I'm the only guy in the world right now, but there's another dude somewhere called Muhammad, and in the far future, but I believe in him.
It's right. I saw. I just said from my head. You're reading from the book. Okay, I got you. No.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. So you kind of beat me to it. So in Islam, children follow the religion of the father. Therefore, the entire world is Muslim, and therefore, as an infidel, you have abandoned Allah. You nasty person. So those who don't believe in Islam must revert. That is what Muslims believe. Don't forget that Muslims believe that Abraham and Ishmael built the Kaaba. Yeah. And what about the hadith that the Kaaba is 40 years? There's 40 years difference between the temple on the mount and the Kaaba. There's the hadith about the 40-year gap. So here's the thing. The 40-year gap, if you look at the age of Abraham, which is like, 1800 BC, and the Temple Mount, which is like 900 BC. If there's a 40-year gap between the building, then the Kaaba is built roughly 1000 BC, which is 800 years after Abraham was born. But Abraham built the Kaaba. So Abraham must have built it in 1500 BC, 5, 6, 7, 800 years before that. So that hadith completely is like 800 years or 600 years too late. That makes no sense.
But Allah knows best.
Yeah, I mean, so Solomon builds this temple in 900 BC. Abraham died 600, 700 years before that. So how can there be a 40-year gap between the Kaaba and Solomon's temple if Abraham died 700 years before the thing could be built? It makes no sense. But it's Sahih, so it's authentic.
Yeah, must be.
So, okay, so therefore the entire world is Muslim, and this is what Muslims truly believe. So Abraham and his son built the Kaaba, and they began the pilgrimage of Hajj, which is practiced today. And no Christian or Jew believes in such a practice. So some may state that the Quran states that there are three religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They may quote some of the early verses of the Quran, such as 262. Surely those who believed and those who are Jews and the Nasara and the Sabi'in, and the Sabi'in are actually Gnostics who believed in moon worship, and the Nasara are heretics. Whoever believed in Allah on the last day and did good deeds, so they will have their ajur. Let's have a look at that word.
Salary,
Their wage,
yeah,
non-Arabic word of possible
money.
surrogation.
You work for Allah, Allah pay you back, man. He's just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, that's good. That's good. I'll wait for my check in the mail.
Yeah.
And they'll get their wage with their Lord, and no fear on them, and they will not grieve. We must remind ourselves that these verses have been abrogated by Quran 385. And whoever desires any other religion except Islam, it will not be accepted from him. You know what? Paul Williams posted of course, the obligatory, what's it, Quran 2, whatever, 252, that, there must be tolerance in religion or whatever, that one. And I posted 385, and of course he never answered, because, yeah, he doesn't want to get into that conversation. Therefore, Islam is the final religion accepted by Allah and is the final word of Allah. And of course, it abrogates all other religions.
Sure.
Abraham, of course, historically was never near the Arabian Peninsula. Muslims cannot prove a thing. They'll just assert this. That's all. And if you ask for evidence, you're Islamophobic.
Hmm.
Where do you stand on Muhammad existing or not? I mean, on this point, clearly the story is based on some kind of figure. There must have been some kind of figure. Now, we know there were multiple historical figures that claimed this kind of authority that was starting religions. Muhammad wasn't the only one. There were others. There are other well-known established historical figures that there's one, Musaylama, I believe his name, that was killed. And there were others like him that claimed authority, that was very similar, claimed monotheistic religion. But then you get the sense that Muhammad becomes a composite, becomes a mixture, whatever original historical figure there was, and there seems to have been some kind of historical figure, becomes a composite where they slap on a whole bunch of other things on top of him, and he becomes whatever they need him to be. So they modify this. So this person becomes an amalgam of a bunch of other figures that suddenly now serves a particular political and religious purpose. But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts. What are yours, Osama?
You're absolutely right. I think we're in agreement. I don't see any difference between what you said, what I was going to say. So we're on the same page. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's good to know. So the castle of Abraham in the garden. So we're going to try and finish this chapter today, people. We have like 2 more pages to go to finish this chapter. Thank heavens. I am so grateful.
It is the longest. Yeah. Actually, there's some other longer one coming up, but
It's
that's
like,
okay.
please make it stop. Yeah, Musaylima al-Qadr. Thank you very much, Dragon. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Musaylima. Yeah. So, okay, so Ibn Kathir stated that Abu Huraira. Now, Abu Huraira, of course, reports something like 6,000, 5,000 hadiths. This guy's a busy little man, wasn't he?
I believe he made so many up too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's in 5,000 hadiths, and he invented like
You know what's amazing? You know what's amazing about Muhammad hadith is if you read all what the true, strong, powerful hadith. I'm not talking about the weak or the one who have COVID or the one who have cancer or cold. Okay, the strong hadith. It will make Muhammad a man who lived roughly around 300 years. If what Muhammad said, as Muslims claim he said, there is no way a man can claim to be a prophet in 23 years and he says all that which Muhammad said in the hadith. Period. No way.
Yeah. But it is crazy. If you go by the idea of David Wood always talks about it, the criteria of embarrassment. right? You wouldn't want to make up things that are embarrassing. You'd try to hide them. But the fact that they talk about this guy being literally, according to Western standards, Western law, Western morality, a pedophile, you're like,
It
yeah, they would
doesn't
try
make,
to hide that.
doesn't make any sense to me. Why has he even said these things about him?
That's a really good question, but it would seem that there was a guy who was a complete nonce, and people were going like, okay, this is what the man did, and they were
You
proud of
know,
it.
and these things that they are being faithful, or Allah and early Muslim are being faithful, that they did not deny these things. Like the most, according to Muhammad in the Hadith, the most embarrassing verse. Why do you hide what Allah is about to reveal? That is the most embarrassing verse. That is Muhammad falling in love with his daughter-in-law Zainab bint Jahsh, the wife of his adopted son Zayd. And Muslim will tell you that is the most embarrassing verse, and Allah put it in the Quran. Why
Yeah,
Allah did put that in the Quran?
but the crazy thing is, as someone mentioned, they seem proud of it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And it's like, hey, look how we can transgress because we are above morality. It's a really, and Joe Blogg says we are like soldiers training in Hell Week, reading through this, no sleep, no food, all torture. That's why I am called Tactical Chocolate. My
And I'm
secret code name has
called,
now been revealed, and I am here with Usama Darkwing Duck,
yeah, duck, like duck,
the terror
not the,
that flaps in the night.
not duck like Daffy Duck you see on TV, the other duck.
This
Yes,
is
I
a
got one. Woohoo!
This is a photograph, true story. This is a picture of Osama on a death-defying mission to do very
Okay,
important
look
things.
at similarity. Look at similarity between his eyes and my eyes.
You can see the resemblance, guys. That's it's not a very good disguise. You can see the super here. Here we go. Darkwing Duck, and look, even Osama's name, Dak Duck, Darkwing
Duck.
Duck.
That same name. It's the same last name.
Have you ever seen Darkwing Duck and Osama in the same room at the same time? I'll leave you with
Mm,
that thought.
yeah. Can you send me sometime a link of one of these videos? I want to watch him. I never saw him before.
He's
I
not
only.
called the terror that flaps in the night for no
Oh,
reason.
yes. That's it.
So, man, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. That's why I have to do this.
No, I'd
So,
rather we laugh. Let's have a laughter and finish the chapter. At least we
Ibn
finish the
Kathir
chapter.
says,
Come
Abu
on.
Huraira said that Muhammad said, in the garden there is a castle, and it is made out of pearl that Allah prepared for his friend Abraham. And when we compare such a teaching with the Bible, we discover that Muhammad has not told the truth. He lied. For the heaven of the Bible where Abraham will be does not have a garden, as Muhammad imagined it, with a castle made out of pearls. We'll be talking more detail about Muhammad's garden later, and the death of Abraham and what was said about his age. Ibn Kathir says that Ibn Jarir said that Abraham was born at the time of Nimrod, son of Canaan, was a famous king known by the name of Dahak, who reigned for 1,000 years. Some said,
No. Wait a minute. Abraham lived during the king Nimrod, and he reigned. I mean, he had to be older. He had to start reigning when he was 20 or 30 years, for 1,000 years. When in reality, people in Abraham days did not live to be the 200 years. So how can the shortage of the life of, or the, now the life of, I know there are people in the Bible live 900 years, but that was way before the flood. After the flood, age of man shrink. In Abraham days, 200 years or less. How can Nimrod be the king in Adam and Abraham days with 1,000 years of reigning as a king?
it makes sense for very low values of the word sense.
Yeah.
You know, some said that a bright star showed up whose light was brighter than the sun and the moon. Then Nimrod was so frightened that he brought the priest and the astrologers and asked them about this bright star. They told him that a boy will be born from his people and that Nimrod would lose his kingdom by the boy's hand. Therefore, the king gave an order that men must separate from women he meant sexually, and everyone born from that day on would be put to death. That's when Abraham was born, but Allah protected him.
Do you see that what confusing Moses was Abraham here?
Look, I mean,
And,
don't.
and, and here's the question. What verse? Did you read any verse as written in Quran, chapter 5, chapter 20, chapter 40, chapter 114? What is the verse in the Quran? Well, I mean, why the scholars of Islam bother to tell me something? They make it up. That's what I call fabrication. No, there's no interpretation. There's no verse in the Quran to read about Nimrod. The name Nimrod never mentioned in the
But
Quran.
no. See, some they're not lying about Muhammad. They're lying for Muhammad.
Oh,
That's different.
yeah, yeah. But I'm talking
And
about Nimrod. Nimrod doesn't exist in the
I want
Quran.
to say thank you to Dude for Christ. He donates 99 Rand and 99 cents. South African rupees. You see there, ZAR, South African rupees. Um, from Dude for Christ, just love the open heart surgery of Islam. Keep it coming, brothers. Off topic. Sorry, do you have an email for offline comms? Yes, I do. I have an email folder on my YouTube page. If you go to my YouTube page with the browser from your laptop or PC, there's a link in my about section to send me an email. Otherwise, just Google my name and you will find my email very quickly on Google. It's not like it's a big secret. Trust me, it's really easy to find. Google my name, Google my email address, you'll find it. It's not rocket science. It's my initial and my surname. You'll find it easily enough. So just do a quick Google and you can email me. Otherwise, get hold of me on X and message me there. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dude for Christ. So Sentinel Apologetics has a debate with Muslims on risky heavenly pleasures. It's pretty wild. It's like an Andrew Tate fever dream. Yeah, that's true. It's like a yeah, it's like a brothel. So Muslim scholars disagree about where Abraham was born. I mean, he could have been born in Calcutta. I mean, it's possible, but maybe in Arabia. There's no evidence of that. But hey, I mean, that hasn't stopped the Muslim scholars before. Some said he was born in Soath, wherever that is. Some said in Babel, others Sawad. Ibn Abbas said that Abraham was born in Baza, east of Damascus. Ibn Kathir continued by stating that Sarah died before Abraham in the village of Hebron when she was 127 years old. Abraham was sorrowful, and he buried in a cave that he bought from a man named Ephron. He bought the cave for 400 weights. No, he 400 weights. That's
400 weights of what?
um
Is it gold? Is it silver? Is it aluminum? Is it steel? Is cement?
are you saying you don't know? How? What do you mean you don't know?
He said 400
Yes.
weights of what?
Yeah, but if you knew, you'd know.
But I don't know. I want you to tell me. Help me out, man.
Allah didn't favor you with knowledge because who Allah favors, He gives knowledge. That's in the Quran. So
Sure.
He did not favor you, so therefore you just have to accept that you are not one of the favored.
Too sad, too bad. Yep, I understand.
This Allah works in mysterious ways, man.
Amen, brother.
So where did Ibn Kathir come up with this information concerning the place of Sarah's death, her age at death, Abraham's sorrow, and the price of the cave? If you watch the next exciting episode
I know. Can I tell you? Can I say it?
Where?
It is the Bible, the book of Genesis.
They stole it from the Bible?
Sure. That's where because he come up with his knowledge. I know it. This is true.
Anthony Gloria says, what book is this? This is Usama Dakdok's book, page 183. This is Usama Dakdok's book, exposing the truth about the Quran. It's called The Revelation of Error. And it's volume 1 of 2. Look, I will either die from a brain aneurysm or I will fake my death before we get to volume 2, just so everybody knows.
Come on, man. I'm writing it in easy English with simple words. Even a high school kid can figure out everything. Are you insulting me now?
I'm just trying to survive. Okay, I'm just holding on here.
Do you get headache by reading 1 or 2 chapters at a time? What is the story with your headache? You have a problem in your physical problem or something?
You know what? I have to go take bacon vaccinations after this. Okay, the only thing that keeps me is I have to take regular bacon vaccine. If you guys could please donate for bacon vaccinations to keep me on the straight line level, I'd appreciate it. Thank
How
you.
about if I give you a capsule of camel urine? It's a small, tiny, concentrate camel urine. Will this help?
Just thinking about it, I think that bacon is a lot more preferred.
Okay, okay. That's what I have. I can
Bacon, bacon
hold
is
on.
proven to prevent people from blowing themselves up at concerts, for instance.
Man, yeah, I see. I see.
And it's actually proven to prevent people from thinking that camel urine is actually a good idea.
I think you have a point, but camel urine work with me. I do it all the time. I use it all the time.
So, yes, Daniel, you're right, and I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to, yeah, yeah.
You see what happened? I used to have black hair, and I finished the book, and I looked in the mirror, and I said to my wife, "Honey, what happened to my hair?" She said, "You've been working that book for a long time. It's time for you to quit."
Right.
And then I looked at my eyebrow.
Let's finish the last page, and I can call it a night, and I can go cry in my sleep or something. So Ibn Kathir reminds me of Muhammad once again. As Mo used to copy from the Bible, so with Ibn Kathir. We encourage the reader to read the entire account of Genesis 23. Ibn Kathir continued to tell the story of the engagement of Isaac to Rebekah. He summarized Genesis 24, which includes 67 verses, and he wrote that as one sentence.
That's a long sentence, man.
Okay. All right.
That
was
is
he
a
using
scholarly work.
was he using like I don't know, like Chat GPT or something to do that kind of summary? So we encourage the reader to read the account in the Bible. All that Ibn Kathir said was that Abraham engaged Isaac to Rivkah, the daughter of Bethuel. He sent his servant who brought her from her country and brought with her nurses and her slaves on camels. Ibn Kathir states that Abraham married Kentora. He meant Keturah. Then he mentioned the children's names. Once again, where did he come up with this information? Well, the answer is found in Genesis 25. As for the death of Abraham, Ibn Kathir stated it was said that Abraham died suddenly, as it was in the case of David and Solomon. As usual, Muslim scholars disagree on the age of Abraham when he died. Ibn Kathir also wrote that Abraham was sick, and he was 175 years old when he
Wait a
died.
minute. If he's sick, he cannot be suddenly see more. That means you're healthy and you drop dead. Sick, that means you have some days, you get, disease, and you get weak and get frilled. How is the word? I'm not saying the word.
Look, who knows? I mean,
And then he died. But you see, Muslims cannot see anything wrong in this fabrication. Always contradictions. There's always contradiction. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you see, the scholars disagree. So therefore, it's just important that you ignore that and focus on the Quran.
Me too. I do that all the time.
So it was also said that he was 190 years old and was buried in the same tomb as his wife. His sons, Ishmael and Isaac, buried him, but Ibn al-Qalbi said that he died when he was 200. Abu Huraira said, Abu Huraira shows up a lot. That Muhammad said,
Muhammad, man. He
that
walked
Abraham was circumcised when he was 120 years old, and he lived 18 more years.
So
Is this number correct? Who knows? First, and this is from a guy called Usama Dakdok, who's writing this first. I am surprised.
Yeah, first.
Why did Ibn Kathir not look at the Bible as he usually did to get his information? Second, if he and Muhammad had done a quick search in the Bible, they would have saved themselves from so many contradictions and errors. For instance, if he had just read Genesis 17, they would have discovered that Abraham was 99 when he was circumcised. Genesis 25, Abraham died when he was 175. And I believe that Ibn Kathir, like all Muslim scholars, only used the Bible to fill in some of the more important information if they did not have it. Otherwise, they seem to have been adapting the story to suit whatever agenda they had. that used Muhammad's teaching, even if it was false and disagreed with the biblical record. As we wrote above, Ibn Kathir stated that Isaac and Ishmael buried their father Abraham in a cave in which Abraham buried his wife. Where does Ibn Kathir come up with this information? The answer?
It's the Bible. It's always the Bible. Trust me.
Genesis 25. So why did Ibn Kathir copy this information from the Bible? Well, in Genesis 25:7, the age of Abraham, when he died, is contained there. So Ibn Kathir used verses 9 to 10, but not verse 7 for some reason. Maybe he didn't have that verse in the Bible. Maybe a goat or sheep ate it.
No, here's the reason.
Muhammad gave the wrong info, so he had to go with that. So the reason is that Muhammad stated that Abraham was circumcised when he was 120 and died 80 years later, which means that Abraham lived 200 years, which is a great error. So therefore the Bible's corrupted because Muhammad's right and the Bible's wrong.
Exactly. You see, you got the point. Are you willing to say the Shahada?
You know what? The Shana Na is something that comes at the end of the show. Good night, sweetheart. Yay, it's time to go home. I'll say the Shana Na. That I'll happily say because
All right.
I used to like that show.
Me too.
And maybe I gave away my age there. You never know. So the conclusion is that Ibn Kathir used the Bible where info was missing in the Quran and the Hadiths, but if it was mentioned in the Quran, he would use it, even
Absolutely.
if it's false. And that finishes the chapter. Thank heavens.
I like this song.
Good night,
Hey,
sweetheart.
listen, do you know what is the next chapter coming up? Just to give you an idea.
The next chapter coming up is the story of Midian and Shuaib.
Shaib, ya Baba, Shaib.
Shaib.
Yeah, you need to speak Arabic.
Shaib.
It's invented by Prophet Muhammad, the peace be upon him. It's invented. It's amazing.
Beasts be upon him. I think he has many beasts.
Police. Send the police to him.
Yes. So ask Lily J. Lily J writes the biggest crap. I've responded to this woman's stuff. I mean, honestly, she's as bad as Paul Williams. She's equally dumb. It's just insane how people believe this. How they frame these things in the most softest manner. It is just wow. But it's popular. What can I say? It is very popular. I try to do extensive research and put out very factual statements, well researched, logical, historically sound. And of course, I'll get 200 views or something, and they'll get 400,000. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm getting jealous, man. We need to get more views. Maybe we should pay people money to give us a good view, reports.
Jihad GPT. Yeah, that's what she's using. So that's how that is. It's look, however, I think our job is to speak the truth. I think that's all we can do. Speak the truth.
The problem is people can't handle the truth, Lloyd. That is a problem.
Spoonful of sugar and the medicine goes down.
Go down.
That's why I'm trying to sort of. That's why we try to be not only factual but funny.
Yeah, absolutely. I concur, man. I concur.
And,
Well, brother, it was fun to do that chapter with you, and I cannot wait to get to chapter 8. I mean, literally, Shaib is going to be an easy chapter. It is one broadcast. It's only a few pages, and we'll have fun with it. And maybe, Lord's willing, we'll have great fun with it. And I hope it will be really fun.
So the audience, please let me know if I'm having fun yet. If you see signs of that happening, just let me know. Because
listen, as my Muslim friend the other day told me, the only way you can really enjoy the Quran is first to say the Shahada. You're not willing to say the Shanana, I cannot help you, brother.
So you have to pass the bill before you can read what's in it.
Exactly. Nancy Pelosi, the greatest woman, made that statement. You think you know better than hello?
I mean, nobody knows how to trade stocks better than her. That's for sure.
Hey, they made millions, man.
So
God help me.
So yeah,
And
that's my story. You
and
know,
you're gonna stick with it. Are you gonna stick with it? You're gonna change your mind later.
I'm gonna stick with it. But yeah. So I don't know if I should now. This is Darkwing Duck and Tactical Chocolate
Hey,
signing.
I have a storm outside, and if it keep going like that, I will never be able to get out of my studio to get to home. It is raining so heavy. Can you hear it? Can you see the building
No,
shaking?
no.
Boom, 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 boom. So I'm glad we were able to finish the broadcast today without losing the internet.
Yeah. Here you got Bernadette Solomon saying she's going to make a nighttime drink with camel urine, Nigella seeds, and honey. Momo says it cures everything. And look, she's wrong. How do we know she's wrong? She didn't include ajwa dates, right, Osama?
Oh yeah, I used to have something. I don't know what happened. It's
Where's
all
her
gone.
ajwa dates? I mean, like this is very disappointing that people are trying to.
Do you know you
Bernadette,
can make
I'm
wine?
disappointed. Just
Muhammad used to
add
make
some
wine
ajwa
out of
dates,
it.
and I think we're good. Because look,
Yeah,
Muhammad would have looked at you very skewed. He'd
soak
have
it in
given you the
water.
hairy eyeball.
Listen,
Yep.
soak it in water, add some sugar to it, you make wine out of it.
Say again, please.
Soak the ajwa date in water and add sugar to it. You can make wine out of it. You get drunk with ajwa. Ajwa. بلح العجوة يا باشا.
Look, you're now corrupting the Muslims who are listening to this. And this is very bad. And we need to stop now. So
Me too. Me
turn
too.
your brain off and enjoy the Quran. So, guys, that is our analysis of the Quran. I hope you had a good time. I'm not sure that I did, but I guess it was necessary. And
Sometimes you have to suffer for others, man. Can't you be humble?
yeah, I took one for the team. So if you guys like this, please do like the video, do share it, do subscribe to the channel. Do let me know that my humor is funny, so that when my wife looks at me and says, like, "You think that was funny?" I will not have a nervous breakdown because I'll know that my audience loves my sense of humor.
Help my marriage. This is help my marriage. Please like me and like my humor. I want to stay married for another 50 years or so if we can. I never heard in my life anybody ask people to like the show for the love of keeping his marriage sticking together. Oh my word. Please,
You
people,
guys,
help Brother Lloyd like him. You don't have to like me. Hate me. I like him so he can keep his marriage. Amen.
yeah.
Please,
So,
God.
guys, thank you very much for the time, the attendance. Thank you for all the support. Really appreciated. You guys are a wonderful audience. Yeah. So, thank you for the comments and the interaction, and for all the mods. Thank you and Usama. This has been fun. It's been another good evening, and yeah. So, guys, we'll be here tomorrow talking about the lawyer. Sorry, John Calvin, the lawyer,
Yes.
the jurist. Because as you know, yeah, it's very important to be a jurist. There's a religion where all of the scholars are jurists. What religion was that?
What?
There's a religion where all the scholars are jurists. All the scholars are jurists. Oh my gosh, there's a religion where all the scholars are jurists, and John Calvin was a jurist as well. Oh my golly.
It's going to be awesome. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow.
Yep. So yeah, that is very sad, Mike Simao. Yeah, we need to. I'm working with her. She's coming along slowly. It might take another decade or so, but we're getting there. So thank you guys. God bless, and have some bacon. Yeah, have some bacon. Go and bacon detox right now. Take care, guys. Good night.
Good
Goodbye.
night.